Shri Radha Govinda Deva ki. So, welcome everyone. Today's reading is sponsored by Agarwal family, and it's going to be a very wonderful experience. So, let's start with favorite bhajan of Srila Prabhupada. Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī. Everyone know that. If you don't know, it's very simple. Wordings are only Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jashoda Nandan Vrajajana Ranjana, Jamuna Tira Vanachari. So let's sing now. Srila Prabhupada, anytime he read from his own books or gave a lecture or pravachan, any talk on spiritual matters, he will come into the class and he will start singing Jai Radha Madhav. So that's a tradition and we should maintain that tradition. Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jashodanandan Vrajajana Ranjan, Jashodanandan Vrajajana Ranjan, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari, Jashodanandan Vrajajana Ranjan, Jashodanandan Vrajajana Ranjan, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jamuna Tira Vanachari, Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī, Jai Radha Madhav Nikuñja-bihārī. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jai Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Sada Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrund ki jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिव सिद्धि गौर भक्त वृंद कीजिए, अंतर्द्वीप मार्ग धाम कीजिए, वृंदावन धाम कीजिए, तुलसी देवी कीजिए, भक्ति देवी कीजिए, समावेद भक्त वृंद कीजिए, गौ प्रेमानंदे, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to assemble devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. So please have a darshan of Shri Radha Govinda, and we also have Srila Prabhupada next to us. Let's get some blessings from the whole Guru Parampara. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Spadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Sri Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utpadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavascha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Gopal Bhatta and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Shri Krishna, along with their associate, Shri Lalita and Vishakha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Oh my dear Krishna, ocean of mercy, you are the friend of distress and source of creation. You are the master of the cowherd man and the lover of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rushabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. I offer my respects to Srimati Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha krupa sindubhya evacha patidanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desired trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, we are reading today from Bhagavad-gītā as it is, and it's chapter 4 and text number 17. If you have Bhagavad-gītā at home, you can look into it. And we'll be discussing also reading from the translation, the word-to-word translation, purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word goes like this. Karmanori api bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmanaham, akarmanascha bodhavyam, gahana karmano gati. Karmanah, of work. He, certainly, api, also. Bodhavyam should be understood. Bodhavyam should be understood. Cha, also. Vikarmanah, of forbidden work. Akarmanah, of inaction. Cha, also. Bodhavyam should be understood. Gahana, very difficult. Karmana, of work. Gatiha, entrance. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. Once again, the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So, purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. If one is serious about liberation from material bondage, one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such an analysis of action, reaction, and perverted actions because it is a very difficult subject matter. So, Srila Prabhupada explains that one is serious about liberation from material bondage. one has to understand the distinctions between action, inaction, and unauthorized actions. One has to apply oneself to such an analysis of action, reactions, and perverted actions because it is a very difficult subject matter. To understand Krishna consciousness and action according to its modes, one has to learn one's relationship with Supreme. That is, one who has learned perfectly knows that every living entity is an eternal servitor of the Lord, and that consequently one has to act in Krishna consciousness. The entire Bhagavad-gītā is directed towards its conclusion. Any other conclusions against these conclusions, its attendant actions are weak karmas or prohibited actions. To understand all this, one has to associate with authorities in Krishna consciousness. And learn the secret from them. This is the good as learning from Lord directly. Otherwise, even the most intelligent persons will be bewildered. So, here we have to learn what the action is, what inaction is, and what is a forbidden action is. So, it's a well-known fact that as long as one has a body, one had to work to maintain it. When the same work is dovetailed in Krishna consciousness, it is called devotional service. One may wonder, how is it that even the learned can become bewildered about how to act properly? The answer is that nature of perfect work as presented by the scriptures is simply not known to everyone in this world. Only by the mercy of Lord Sri Krishna and his pure devotee can one learn how to please the Lord. Here, Lord Krishna says there are three categories of action: forbidden action, pious action, and transcendental action or inaction. Given the short lifespan of living entities in Kali Yuga, the best course of action is to take to inaction, which means working in Krishna consciousness. Under the qualified Guru, those who are truly interested in going back to Godhead must practice Krishna consciousness in disciplic succession. So as you all know, we have this deity of Srila Prabhupada right in front of us, and Srila Prabhupada had also nominated some of his disciples to give initiations to new devotees. So he left us already, and now the rest of the gurus are actually guiding us about the spiritual life. Life means activity. Where activity has ended, death has entered. Inactive life alone can be progress or deteriorated. A stagnant pool of water decays and soon gets putrefied, while flowing water of river ever keeps itself fresh, pure, and clean. So, for example, the river is flowing all the time. But if it's a lake or a pond or swimming pool, sometimes it gets spoiled very easily because there is no flow. Life being dynamic, it cannot even for a moment cease to function. Complete cessation from activities is impossible so long as life exists. Activity, therefore, is the very cornerstone of life. Since man must always actively exist all his lifetime, the entire possibility of activities have been taken into consideration by the great seers of old in evaluating life. The accompanying chart will vividly explain their classifications. So, you can imagine a chart that we have life. Now, life can be divided into two parts. One is activity and another is inactivity. When it comes to activity, there are two kinds of activities. One we call it karma and other we call it vikarma. What is a karma? Actions to be done. And what is a vikarma? Actions to be avoided. Now when it comes to karma, there are three kinds of karmas. One is nitya karma, daily duties or activities. Second is naimittik karma, which is duties on special occasions. We don't do it every day. If we do it every day, that's a nitya karma. But occasionally we'll do that. That is naimittik karma. And the third is kamya karma, desire promoted duties. If you want something, then naturally you do something. Sometimes people they have some desire in their heart and they say, okay, if Krishna fulfills my desire, I will go to the temple and I will offer him a coconut or some donation, or I sponsor a fish, or at least I will attend Mangala Arati or Rajbhog Arati or Sandhya Arati or Shayan Arati or something. They have some idea in their mind that if you do that, the Krishna will consider it and will fulfill your desire. But this is a kamya karma. Kamya means desire prompted karma. So, from life we divide into two, activity and inactivity. Then activity we divided into two activities, karma and vikarma. Actions to be done, actions to be avoided. And then actions to be done, we divide into three parts. One is nitya, every day that we do. Naimittik, duties on special occasions. And kamya karma, desire prompted activities. Life is constituted of moments of activity and moments of inactivity. Through inactivity, neither progress nor deterioration is ever possible. Deep sleep or periods of complete cessation in existence are intervals of the total holiday from life, and they can neither make nor mar the individual's progress in his evolution. And that is why they say that when you sleep, nothing you produce. And that's why you should cut down the sleep. One of the names of Arjuna was Gudakesh, and he slept minimum, whatever is required to take a nap. That's fine. A lot of people practice that. One of our acharyas said, like sleeping is like dying. 24 hours are given, and if you decide to sleep for 8 hours, you consider you have died for 8 hours. And just multiply by your 100 years, how much years we have spent in sleeping. So, periods of activity create man. This creative period depends upon that type of activity we venture upon. According to the ancient seers, activities can be of two types, constructive or destructive. Constructive activities which contributes towards the evolution of the individual are termed here as a karma. So, although we talk about karma, everything doesn't fall under karma, because that has to be constructive. In the ancient Vedic literature, karma had only one single connotation. As already indicated, in its Vedic meaning of karma means ritualism. Actions of dedications to God or gods, to be performed faithfully following the strict instructions laid down in the text of the Vedas. This was quite acceptable in early periods of Aryan civilization, because life then was smooth and tame. But by time of Mahabharata war, political intrigues and mutual hatred, which are common in all competitive societies, had sprung up, and therefore the members of the community had neither the patience nor the quiet leisure to enter into the elaborate ritualism of the Vedas. It is in such a situation that we find Gita given out by Vyasa. It initiates a courageous revival in emphasis, and not in any sense of the term a revolution in thought. Krishna is advising Arjuna here that in the largest implication of the Vedic technique, karma need not be only ritualism, but it can bring within its embrace all dedicated activities. The Catholicity of this vision of life and of the technique of self-perfections, as indicated in Gita, has nowhere been so beautifully brought out as in this section. And this is the very reason Gita has been the unchallenged scripture of the world for such a long period of its continuous history. Destructive activities are those that are totally condemned by the Shastras, because they tend to devolve the individual, and those are termed in our scriptures as the vikarma. The constructive activities karma can be of three kinds: nitya, daily duties; naimittik, special duties on special occasions; and kamya, purposeful and self-determined work to win a desirable result of reward. Built upon the ancient Vedic doctrine, Krishna expounds an elaborate theory of self-development. He says that life is but a name for continuous activities. These activities can fall within two distinct classifications, as karma and vikarma. Lord Krishna's advice to Arjuna is to avoid the forbidden actions, vikarma, and to pursue the constructive and creative activities of self-development, karma. In this scientific analysis, without any formality or mental reservation, Krishna totally rejects inactivity or karma. There are commentators who have considered akarma as a state of actionlessness, selfhood, It was already said that the Lord is a non-doer. This interpretation seems to be more acceptable in the light of how the term akarma is employed in the next verse. We consider akarma to mean unactivity, the state of sattvic peace and joy. It is necessary, it is said here, that a true seeker who is trying to live a diligent life, contributing to the material progress and to his spiritual self-development, must necessarily know this triple classification of life considered as a bundle of activities. Even after so beautifully defining the three clear and distinct classifications, Krishna admits that for an ordinary man, it is not easy to distinguish the one from other and to readily and successfully classify all his activities under these three headings, because Krishna says the nature of karma is imponderable. Gahana karmano gati. It's little deep, intricate. It's not easy to understand. In this statement lies a secret suggestion that an action is to be evaluated not merely on its face value, but after a sincere consideration of the underlying motive. If the motive or desire or intention of one is pure and constructive, then the action too is noble and meritorious for that particular individual. Since is the evaluation of actions, the individual factor is so very important, one must agree with Krishna over the imponderability of the nature of the karma. So, we learn this particular word, vikarma. So again, sometimes saintly people, they just don't consider the meaning of the Sanskrit word in looking at one point of view. They also look from other point of view. We in Sanskrit is Vishesha, something special. So, the word vikarma, they translate as to pay a special attention. And that's what they call vikarma. Now, here we also saw that vikarma is forbidden action. So, if it is a vikrut karma, right, then it is forbidden. So, they have the specific injunction, you do this and you do not do this. We go for this thing in everyday life. When you drive in city, and you come to the last stop, you are visiting somebody, what do? You look for a parking spot and you walk around or drive around. No parking anytime, no parking anytime, no parking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah. All those instructions, right? Your car will be towed away, right? No standing at all. All these rules and regulations that we see, do not. That is forbidden. Do not park means do not park, and that's all about it. So, scripture is also very strict about it. Do this and don't do this. So, do's and don'ts that we have to know from the scripture. But when you see this vikarma, that vikarma word has dual meaning. One is forbidden meaning and one is paying and doing it with a special attention. So, some saintly people, they do not stop you acting, but they say, as long as you pay special attention, that is vikarma. Now, if you are a cook in your home, sometimes it happens that out of routine, he keeps cooking. The qualities comes the same thing. But someday, the cook is calling sick, and the lady of the householder, she says, okay, today I'm going to cook. And they're asking the son, Beta, what would you like to eat? Betty, what would you like to eat? Ask the husband, honey, what would you like to eat? And they all decide the man. And she's putting all her energy and talent and the things that they learn from the childhood. And she's surprising the family. And this, Mom, we never had a lunch like this. So wonderful, so tasty, so many varieties. Why? Because she put her heart, her talents, her soul into it. And that is also known as vikarma. So, Prabhupada says, one is understood to be in a full knowledge whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So, we are talking about cooking. What do you know? So, one thing is you have to have knowledge. There are recipes, cookbooks are available. People refer there and they follow word by word and they come up with the nicest thing that they ever had tasted. And they surprise the family and things come out very good. And they keep building their experience in cooking and the knowledge of the different recipes. And this is how they enjoy their life. And they spend their time in a constructive way. And that is why in Bhagavad-gītā it is known as a gnāna, knowledge. To know something, how much salt you need, how much water you need, how much oil you need, how much flour you need, what kind of spices you need. All these things is the knowledge. So, we are talking about the mundane knowledge, but knowledge is a general word. In a spiritual world, you can also apply it to knowledge about scriptures and knowledge about your spiritual life and all that. So, that is one of the aspects we have to consider, which is known as a Gnana Yoga. So, there are three things basically discussed in Bhagavad-gītā. One is a Gnana Yoga, and that is knowledge. Do you find that in anywhere else? Yes. Shri Krishna Chaitanya or Radha Krishna, they are known as a Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadi Adi Govinda, Sarvakaranasya Karanam. Right? So, they are cause of all causes, eternal, full of knowledge. That's where the word is. Sat means eternal. Chit means knowledge, full. And full of bliss means anand, right? Full of pleasure. So these three qualities are in God. and one of them is knowledge. So when we talk about Gnana Yoga, we have to know that we must have it. That is the basic, that is the minimum bare requirements, and for that you have to endeavor. Then only you will be called Pandit or a Vidwan. Vidvana sarvatra pujyate. If you are a king, you have limitation. Whatever state you are representing, they will pay you obeisances, they will glorify you, they will listen to you, they will talk about you, or worry about you, or try to protect you, or maintain you, whatever they do. But there is a limitation. You are limited up to your state only. But Vidvana sarvatra pujyate means no matter where you go in this material world, any planet or even on this earth, any country you go, people will listen to you because you know you have knowledge. So, knowing something is very important. The other part of Bhagavad-gītā is Karma Yoga, which we started talking about it. Yes, you cannot just sleep, you have to rise and act and get into action. Nitya karma, you do your daily activity. And if there is a special day, then you follow those rituals. There is a marriage ceremony or Brahmanical trade ceremony or moving into the new house or some kind of fire sacrifice or even Ekadashi. You can make a special day and celebrate it in a special way. So, that is a naimittic karma which you may not do every day. Every day you don't have to fast. Every day you don't have to eat certain kind of food. So, those kind of things are the naimittic karma. And the third part of the Bhagavad-gītā says, we saw Gnana, Karma, which is first is known as the Gnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and the third is Bhakti Yoga, right? So, in a Bhakti Yoga, you have to accept your position. Your constitutional position is that we are all part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. He is the Supreme. He is the Godhead. And we are simply part and parcel of Him. So, our position is to serve Him. He is the boss. And we have to somehow please Him. So, only a person in full knowledge can understand the activities of a person in Krishna consciousness. Because the person in Krishna consciousness is devoid of all kinds of sense gratification propensities. It is to be understood that he has burned up the reactions of his work by perfect knowledge of his constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is actually learned who has attained to such perfection of knowledge. Develop on this knowledge of the eternal servitorship to the Lord is compared to fire. Such a fire, once kindled, can burn up all kinds of reactions of the work. So, this knowledge that we are talking about is not an ordinary thing. If we have any kind of impious activities performed, then if there is any reactions to come upon us, it can be eliminated. just by simply by having a knowledge. So we have to abandon all attachment to the results of the activities. Ever satisfied and independent, he performs so fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. So when you become a devotee, you keep doing your job, but at the same time you are doing it for Krishna, and any move that you make, any work that you do, you have to offer it to Lord Sri Krishna. Such a man of understanding acts with mind and intelligence, perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working is not affected by sinful reactions. He who is satisfied with gain, which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. So they say that every action has a reaction. So when you do this devotional service, then those activities doesn't react. Have a action as a reaction, but there is no any reaction for the work you do it for Lord Sri Krishna. Otherwise, there is a bondage, and you have to pay for that. Because when you cook for yourself and eat for yourself and satisfy your tongue and your belly, that means that's a sense gratification. All that activity that you did of cooking and eating and dishwashing, it's all you did it for yourself. It was a selfish motive, and you didn't share it with anybody. You didn't even offer to Krishna. So there is a reaction, there is a bondage. But if you offer it to Krishna, if you decide that I have to cook for Krishna, and you offer it to Krishna, and then whatever is left over as a remnant, if you eat, that's a devotional service. So here on the altar also in few minutes, in 15 minutes, we'll be offering food to Lord Sri Krishna. So these three things we have to do, that's for sure. One is cultivate the knowledge, endeavor, do some kind of activity, and do it for Lord Sri Krishna. So Gnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga, the three things go together. I'll give you an example. A son-in-law is coming to visit a family. So the mother-in-law is very excited that my son-in-law is coming. So what's happening? She is referring to the books, and she knows what son-in-law likes most. So if he likes Shrikhand or Gulab Jamun or Rasgulla or Khaman Dokla or whatever, she looks into all that. Then she's going to go and buy the grocery that she needs to prepare those things, because she has knowledge of what's required while cooking. And then very expertly putting her soul in the whole cooking process, she's coming with the best possible varieties. So what happened? According to Bhagavad-gītā, all the three things were actually applied in this particular activity. The knowledge shouldn't fail to learn how much amount of salt or sugar or milk or yogurt, whatever. That's the Gnana Yoga. Then when you really do it and cook it, cut it, the vegetables in proper way, let it boil it, and add some spices to it and all that, you're focusing and using your body in cooking. That is a Karma Yoga. But one thing which Krishna Consciousness teaching is just like for your son-in-law, you are cooking very attentively. You want to make the best out of it because he is related to you. He is the husband of your daughter, and that's why you do that. Similarly, there is what you see here, Radha and Krishna. They are our father and mother. So when you do for them any kind of cooking, the cooking must come out like that, because that is a Bhakti Yoga. So if you cook at home and getting some salary every week or monthly or yearly, there is a big difference when you go to some restaurant and eat, and when you go to your mom and mom makes some sandwiches for you. There is a big difference between both of it, because love is there, the bhakti, the devotion is there. The work of a man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into transcendence. Becoming fully Krishna conscious, one is freed from all dualities and thus is freed from contaminations of the material modes. He can become liberated because he knows his constitutional position in relationship with Krishna, and thus his mind cannot be drawn from Krishna consciousness. Consequently, whatever he does for Krishna, who is primeval Vishnu. Therefore, all his works are technically sacrifices, because sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Person, Krishna or Vishnu. The resultant reaction to the such work certainly merge into transcendence, and one does not suffer material effects. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain a spiritual kingdom because of its fully contribution to spiritual activities, in which consumption is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual knowledge or nature. Purport: how activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and all of them will be described in the following verses. But for a present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul entangled in material contamination is sure to act in the material atmosphere, and yet he has to get out of such environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere in Krishna consciousness. For example, a patient who is suffering from a disorder of a bowels due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely yogurt. The materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth here in Gita. These processes generally known as yagna or activities, sacrifices, simply meant for satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. The more the activities of material world are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. The word Brahman means spiritual. The Lord is spiritual, and the rays of His transcendental body are called Brahma Jyoti. His spiritual effulgence, everything that exists is situated in Brahma Jyoti. But when the Jyoti is covered by illusion Maya or sense gratification, it is called material. This material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor, and the result are all combined together, Brahman, or the absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is called matter. Matter dovetailed for the cause of the absolute truth regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is process of covering the illusory consciousness into Brahman or Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yagna or sacrifice for the absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer or leader of performance, and the result or ultimate gain, everything becomes one in the absolute, the Supreme Brahman. That is the method of Krishna consciousness. So, it's very important that whatever we do, yat karoshi ajanyaji, jajju hoshi dadadiyat, tat karashyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva mad arpanam. Whatever you do, Krishna says you offer it to me. That's very important. And sometimes Srila Prabhupada says that when the subject becomes somehow not clear to you, you get the help from Krishna. So, what we'll do today, that we'll do some Namakirsana, chanting of the holy names. And this song is from Gitavali. So, for a few minutes, we will be chanting and then we will get back to the subject again. But basically, we discuss three things: Gnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. So, when you combine this together and offer it to Krishna, then everything comes out clean. So, here the words from the song is Yashomati Nandana Brajavana Nagar Gokula Ranjana Kana. If you come during daytime and when we offer the Rajbhog to Radha Govinda, and when we offer after that the Rajbhog Arati, this particular bhajan we always sing to please Lord Sri Krishna. So today, after we read something which was an intricate subject, Krishna himself said in that verse, Gahana Karmano Gati. It's not easy to understand how the karma works in our life. Duryodhana also studied under the same gurus. Krishna was also around all the time. It's not just the Pandavas was there. All the Kauravas were also there. And this whole thing was a part of the family affair. And Duryodhana commits one time that since my Guru and Pandava's Guru are the one, we learn the same thing. He says, Janami dharma, Janami adharma. What is religion and what is not religion? I know that. And they also know that. Whatever they know, I also know that. But what's the difference? Janami dharma, nachame pravrutti. I know this is the religion and this is the right thing to do. But nachame pravrutti. I cannot even go one step forward in that direction, in the right direction. Janami dharmam, nachame pravrutti. Although I know what is right and wrong, I cannot go in the right direction even one step. Janami adharmam, what I should not do. We just talked about the weak karma, forbidden actions, right? He says, Janami, I know that. Janami adharma, nachame nivrutti, but I keep doing that. I don't resign from that. I don't retire from that. I'm busy doing that day and night, although I know this is forbidden and I should not be doing. Janami dharmam, nachame pravrutti, janami adharmam, nachame nivrutti. So that is why we have to please Lord Krishna, so that only He can give us the proper intelligence, Bhakti Yoga, so that we can practice what we learn in this particular verse. That do your dutiful works, never even go in the direction of forbidden karmas, and try to avoid so that you will not have any bondage. If you dovetail all your activities into Krishna consciousness, then you will be better off. There won't be any reactions. You won't have to pay for that. We are coming back here in 8,400,000 of lives, species of life. Birth after birth after birth after birth, we come and go. So many times, so many births, so many deaths, cycle of birth and death. We have to stop that. And that's only way is to chant Harinam. So let's sing that particular bhajan. Yashomati Nandanu Brajbar Nagar Gokul Ranjan Kanam. Yashomati Nandanu Brajbar Nagar Gokul Ranjan Kanam. Gopi Parandhan Madan Manohar, Gopi Parandhan Madan Manohar, Kaliya Daman Vidhana, Kaliya Daman Vidhana. Amal Harinam Amiya Vilasa, Amal Harinam Amiya Vilasa, Bipina Purandar Navin Nagar Var, Vaunshi Badan Suvasam. Bipina Purandar Navin Nagar Var, Vaunshi Badan Suvasam. Braj Jan Palan Asur Kul Nashan, ब्रज जन पालन असुर कुल नाशन नंद गोधन रखवाला नंद गोधन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाला सुंदर नंद गोपाला यशुमति नंदन ब्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन कानन यशुमति नंदन ब्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन कानन गोपी परंधन मदन मनोहर गोपी परंधन मदन मनोहर कालिया दमन विधाना कालिया दमन विधाना आमल हरि नाम अम्य विलासा आमल हरि नाम अम्य विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बर बंसी बदन सुवासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बर बंसी बदन सुवासा ब्रज जन पालन सुर कुल नाशन ब्रज जन पालन सुर कुल नाशन नंद गोधन रखवाला नंद गोधन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुंदर नंद गोपाला सुंदर नंद गोपाला जमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृप मोह जमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृप मोह श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर यशुमति नंदन व्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन कानन जमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृप मोया जमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर रास रसिक कृप मोया श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नटवर भक्ति विनोद आश्राया भक्ति विनोद आश्राया यशुमति नंदन भजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन कानन यशुमति नंदन व्रजवर नागर गोकुल रंजन कानन गोपी परंधन मदन मनोहर गोपी परंधन मदन मनोहर कालिया दमन विदाना Kalya Daman Vidhanam Amala Harinam Amila Vilasa Amala Harinam Amila Vilasa Vipina Purandar Navin Nagar Bar Vamshi Vadan Suvasam Vipina Purandar Navin Nagar Bar Vamshi Vadan Suvasam Brajban Palan Sur Kul Nashan Brajban Palan Sur Kul Nashan Nanda Godan Rakubala Nanda Godan Rakubala Govind Madhav Navanit Kashkar Govind Madhav Navanit Kashkar Sundar Nanda Gopala Sundar Nanda Gopala Yasumati Nandan Vrajvar Nagar Gokul Ranjan Kam Jamuna Tatchar Gopi Basan Har Jamuna Tatchar Gopi Basan Har Ras Rasik Krupamoya Ras Rasik Krupamoya Shri Radha Vallabh Vrindavan Natvar Shri Radha Vallabh Vrindavan Natvar Amal Harinam Amya Vilasa Amal Harinam Amya Vilasa Vrajajan Palana Sur Kul Nashan Vrajajan Palana Sur Kul Nashan Jamuna Tatchar Gopi Basan Har Jamuna Tatchar Gopi Basan Har Ras Rasika Krupamoya Ras Rasika Krupamoya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So the translation of this song is very beautiful also. Lord Krishna is the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the transcendent lover in the land of Vraja, the delight of Gokula, Kana, the wealth of lives of the gopis. He stills the minds of even Cupid and punishes the Kaliya serpent. These pure holy names of Lord Hari are full of sweet, nectarian pastimes. Krishna is the Lord of the 12 forests of Braja. He is ever youthful and is best of lovers. He is always playing on a flute and he is an excellent dresser. Krishna is the protector of inhabitants of Braja, the destroyer of various demoniac dynasties, the keeper and tender of Nanda Maharaj's cows, the giver of pleasure to the cows, land and spiritual senses, the husband of goddess of fortune, the butter thief, and the beautiful cowherd boy of Nanda Maharaj. Krishna wanders along the banks of river Yamuna. He stole the garments of the young damsels of Braja who were bathing there. He delights in the mellows of the Rasa dance. He is very merciful, the lover of beloved of Srimati Radharani, the great dancer of Vrindavan, and the shelter and the only refuge of the devotees. So, if you have this bhajan at home, you can go also on the internet and YouTube, find this particular bhajan. The translation is put in such a way that, all these names assembled here, at least 100 names are there, and individually they are all given some translation. Like Yashomati Nandana is one name, Brajabara Nagar is another name, Gokula Ranjana is another name, Kana is altogether different name, Gopi Paranandana, different name, Madana Manohar is also a name. So it's like reading translation of Vishnu Sahasranam. Krishna has so many names. Keshvaya Namah, Narayana Namah, Madhavaya Namah, Govindaya Namah, Vishnavaya Namah, Madhusudanayanam, Trivikramaya Namah, Vamanayanam, Sridharayanam, Rishikeshayanam, Adhokshayanam, Nrusiyanam, Achyutayanam, Janardayanam, Upendrayanam, Harayanam, Krishnayanam, Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, all these names are there, and we should be chanting them. And simply by chanting one particular bhajan, we actually happen to chant all the names of Lord Shri Krishna. So, finally it says in this book, those who desire success in fruitive activities worship the demigods. Such persons become successful very quickly in this world. So, if you go to some other temples, here we have only one deity, that's Radha and Krishna, and that's all about it. But if you go to some other temples, they have choices, just like supermarket, different departments, different things available. You name it and thing is there. So similarly, if your heart is inclined towards worshipping Lord Shiva or Amba or Hanuman or any other god, then here we only offer you service of Lord Shri Krishna. And that's what our Gurudev Prabhupada also recommends that. The four divisions of human society were created by me according to their qualities of the work. Although this system was established by me, I should be understood as a non-doer, being unchangeable. So, doing something is a karma, we talk about it. And when the ego is not involved in doing something, that means you are not doing it. I just explained that when you work for Krishna, then there is no reaction, because that will not be considered as a karma. The ego gives you a sense that I did it. I is there. The ego is there. And second thing, this is mine. When the result comes, fruit comes, fruits of the activities, then you say, see, I did it, and this is the result, and this is mine. So I and mine, they arise out of the activities, and that gives you a bondage. But if there is no I and mine, then there is no bondage. Similarly, whatever Lord Shri Krishna is doing, he is a non-doer, and there is no any reaction he has to go through. That's a beautiful beauty of his janma and karma. Of course, he takes birth and he leaves this world, and he is also performing activities. But janma karma cha me divyam, these are all divine activities that he is doing. He is not doing for himself, he is doing for ourselves, and that is why those are not considered as karmas. I am not affected by any kind of work, nor do I aspire for the results of action. Anyone who understands this truth also does not become bound by the reactions of the work. Understanding this, all the saintly persons who desire liberation acted accordingly. Therefore, like the venerable sages, you should perform your duty with transcendental consciousness. Lord Shri Krishna describes his detachment from the results of his action. Now he tells Arjuna how the great devotees from the past acted without receiving reactions, because they know that the actions directed towards liberation lead to perfection and happiness. Those who are being educated with transcendental knowledge, being unattached to the work and are working with intelligence, remain pure and attain liberation. One must realize that there is no place for lethargy or retirement in the process of Krishna consciousness. The process of Krishna consciousness is not boring or dull. It is full of bliss and varieties of activities that lead to eternal happiness. Even a sage becomes bewildered about what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall describe to you what action is, knowing which you will be liberated from the sins. One must follow the age-old chain of disciplic succession by consulting the realized soul, the spiritual master, before one acts in this world. One should not simply act on the basis of what others are doing. One must follow the path laid down by the previous authorities. Otherwise, there surely be a reaction. Even the most intelligent people become bewildered as to perfect path to follow. Independent spiritualists, for example, are gradually confused and misfortune. By following the path recommended by the great authorities, there is no inauspicious results. Since Lord Krishna is all-knowing, his path is perfect path. Therefore, studying Bhagavad-gītā and applying its wisdom under guidance of pure devotees of the Lord is perfect way for everyone to reach the goal of life. And that's the reason why we are reading Bhagavad-gītā every day. One must learn what is action, what is forbidden action, and what is inaction is. Even though the intricacies of actions are difficult to understand. Anyone who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent. This is a very beautiful sentence. Anyone who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. When you do some action, do it as if you are doing inaction. And when you do inaction, like you are doing action. So, karmanya karmanya pasched karmanya charana. So, anyone who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent. Although engaged in all sorts of action, they are transcendently situated. In the process of doing work, those who aim for self-realization are considered learned and ultimately they achieve liberation. Those whose hearts are purified and work for the Lord do not need to take to the renounced order of life. Their work is called inaction because it brings no reaction. It does not bind them to the material world. But those whose hearts are not yet purified, who are bereft of the knowledge of the self-realization, even if they wear the garb of sannyasi and deliver lectures, their work is not perfect. One who has not yet controlled the 6 enemies, lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion and envy. You have to remember that. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moh, Mad, Matsar. We have to avoid that. One who has not yet controlled the 6 enemies, lust, anger, greed, pride, illusion and envy, who has strong senses and a powerful mind, as that charioteer, being bereft of a real knowledge and detachment, yet wearing saffron clothes and holding the holy stick of sannyasa called Tridanda, just to maintain his livelihood. Such a pretender of religious principles deceives the demigods, the self and me. That's what Krishna says. He is deceiving me. The super soul thus becomes bereft of happiness in this world and the next. Therefore, one must practice the Vedic principles. Success does not come from permanently wearing saffron clothes. So people are taking sannyasa and they keep doing the formidable actions which is not recommended according to Bhagavad-gītā. One whose endeavors are free from the desire of sense gratification, whose fruitive actions are burned up by the fire of transcendental knowledge, is said by learned to be situated in knowledge. So, there is a word, self-realization. So, who is a self-realized soul? That one whose endeavors are free from desire for sense gratification, whose fruitive actions are burned up by the fire of transcendental knowledge, is said by learned to be situated in knowledge. Anyone who has given up attachment for results of action and is always self-sufficient and self-satisfied persons, no fruitive action, even though engage in many works. You may be doing so many activities, but still you don't have any bondage, because all those activities that you do, you are doing it for Sri Krishna. Lot of things day and night in this temple. People are cleaning this, such a big hall, 6-story building, nice and clean, right? People keep cleaning. 6 times we offer food to Lord Sri Krishna. We just offered it when the curtain was down. That time we were offering the food to Lord Sri Krishna. This way we offer it 6 times, cooked fresh and then offer. And then right after offering, we will follow the arti. So we also do that arti right from 3:45 in the morning all the way up to 9:30 at night. Our service is there all the time. Everybody is engaged in cooking, cleaning, sewing for God, making garlands, fresh garlands every day. On top of it, we have Tulsi Arti, Guru Arti, Prabhupada Arti. And on top of it, we have to also chant 16 rounds by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. So, in a short time, Pujari will be offering the Arti. Today, you are very fortunate that Lord Krishna came to your home. If you look at your screen, you will also see the Pujari, you will be also seeing Radha Govinda. And the way the Aarti is offered, will be offering and singing the Sandhya Aarti. All you need is the incense, the ghee lamp, and little water, hanky. If you have flower and a chamar, you can offer the flower and a chamar also. So now, with the sound of the conch shell, let us offer Shri Radha Govinda Aarti. Ki bajayo jaya Gaurachande Aarti ko shobha ki bajayo jaya Gaurachande Aarti ko shobha Janavi Tatuvan Jagman Lobha Janavi Tatuvan Jagman Lobha Ki Bajaya Jaya Gaurachande Aarti ko shobha ki bajayo Jaya Gaurachande Aarti ko shobha Janavi Tatvan Jagman Lobha Janavi Tatvan Jagman Lobha Dakshinanitai Chant Bhagavad-gītā Dakshinanitai Chant Bhagavad-gītā Nikate Advaita Shreni Vasu Chatra Dara Nikate Advaita Shreni Vasu Chatra Dara Basiyache Gaurachan Ratna Siyasana Basiyache Gaurachan Ratna Siyasana Basiyache Gaurachan Ratna Siyasana Basiyache Gaurachan Ratna Siyasana Aarti Korena Brahma Adideva Gane Aarti Korena Brahma Adideva Gane Narahari Adi Kori Chamar Julaya Narahari Adi Kori Chamar Julaya Adi Kori Chamar Julaya Narahari Adi Kori Chamar Julaya Sanjaya Mukunja-bihārī Goshu Adi Gaya Sanjaya Mukunja-bihārī Goshu Adi Gaya Shankha baje Ghanta baje Baje kartan 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 Madhura mrudanga baje Param rasala Madhura mrudanga baje Param rasala Shankha baje Ghanta baje Madhur 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 baje 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 Madhur 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 baje Madhur 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 Hari bol Hari bol Hari bol Hari bol Nitai Gaur Hari bol Hari bol Hari bol Nitai Gaur Hari bol 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 Bahu koti chandra jini badan ujvalam Bahu koti chandra jini Vadnujvalam Gale deshe vanmala Pure jalimala Gale deshe vanmala Pure jalimala Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Badnujvalam Bahu Koti Chandra Jini Badnujvalam Kal deshe vanmala Pure jalmala Gal deshe vanmala Pure jalmala Gal deshe vanmala Pure jalmala Shiva Shukha Narida Brahmagada Gada Shiva Shukha Narida Brahmagada Gada Bhakti Vinod Dekhe Gorar Sampada Bhakti Vinod Dekhe Gorar Sampada Bhakti Vinod Dekhe Gorar Sampada Ki bajayo Jaya Gaurachande Arati Koshobha Ki bajayo Jaya Gaurachande Arati Koshobha Janavi Tachvan Jagmanaloba Janavi Tachvan Jagamanaloba Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namina. Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshitarine. Jaya Shri Krishna, Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe 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 Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Go Premanande. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlad Lad Daina Hiranyakashipurvakshaham Shilatankaina kalayam Ito nasiham parato nasiham Yato yato yamitato nasiham Bahir nasiham hridaye nasiham Narasimham Gadim Sharanam Prapadye. Tav kar kamal vare nakham adbhuta shringam dalita hiranyakashipu tanubhringam keshavadhuta narhari rupa Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jai Jagadish Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Nrsingadev, 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 Jaya Nrsingadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्री राधा गोविंद देव की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नमो विश्वपाद परमहंस प्रव्याचार्य भक्त वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसति गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, अंतर्मार्ग धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समावेद भक्त वृंद की जय, गौ प्रेमानंदे। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Guru and Gauranga. So we are very thankful to Agarwal family, and I hope you enjoyed Bhagavad-gītā Reading. Srila Prabhupada has given us this valuable knowledge to us through his books, and we have the whole library to go through. It's not just Bhagavad-gītā, we also read from Srimad Bhagavat, Nectar of Devotion, and so many other scriptures. So thank you very much. And Shobha May is here. Would you like to thank them? Okay.
Thank you very much, Agarwal family, for organizing such a wonderful evening program. Invited everybody. I'm sure many people must have watched and attended this session virtually. Thank you so much. Whoever wants to have a virtual home program, please contact me and we can organize. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Radha Govinda, bless Agarwal family.
Thank you very much once more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Chant and be happy.